Welcome to another RealTime Fantasy Sports show. I'm Jeff Paur, senior writer for RealTime Fantasy Sports. This is my son, Henry.
What's up?
Thanks for joining me again, Henry. Appreciate it. So today, Henry and we are going to do a quick recap of a fantasy championship draft that took place last night on our site. It is from 8/27. It was the 10 p.m. Eastern draft of the fantasy championship. We like to do these quick recaps as well, just to show everybody where players are going, where they're getting picked. You know, there's a lot of movement with these preseason games going on as well. So we want to give a quick update on that type of stuff. Also, tons of people are drafting right now. We have tons of drafts going off. Many of you are doing your home leagues, not just leagues on our site. The money leagues, I'm talking about home leagues with your friends. I have a draft today, actually, with a bunch of my friends. We've done this league for 20 plus years. We have a trophy, smoking some meat out here. It should be a good time today, but we want to give you a quick recap of this fantasy championship draft. Let's do it right now. Before I get to that, though, let's look at the rules of the fantasy championship so everybody can see those and what it's all about. If you're not familiar, we're giving away $500,000 this year for the prize, Henry. It is the best prize yet, so we're really excited about that. Please get in sooner than later. It's a great contest, a lot of fun, but here's the rules. I think the big thing we want to mention is the lineups. So I'll scroll to it here. There's 10 starters, 1 QB, 2 running backs, 2 receivers, 1 tight end, 2 flex running back, tight end, or receiver, 1 defense, and a kicker. So 2 flex box spots, 2 starting receivers. So that is the lowdown of the rules. So I want to pull up this draft board as well. So give me a second here to do that. It'll give me 1 second here, and you can pull up this draft board, and you can see how this draft went down last night. Here it is now, as you can see on the site. It was a good draft. It went fairly quick. I think it was the quickest of the fantasy championship drafts last night. So let's set the scene here a little bit. So Paper Champs, Daddy Nick, Domination, 6 Rings, Chris and Q, C, Pat, 05, JWB, Space Cowboys, Team Thompson, O. Henry. Got that, Henry? Commercial Break, I guess, and then Kevin's Song. So that's the teams in the draft order. There was actually 5 receivers picked in the first round, Henry. Not super unusual, but one thing that did catch my eye, CeeDee Lamb went with the 11th pick in the first round. What do you think?
I mean, I feel like that's a little early for him. Not too early, but if you have Adams and Diggs behind him, I'd maybe take him over Adams just because you and I is going to play in that new offense. But Diggs, I think it's kind of crazy to take him over Diggs. Diggs has a lot of upside, gets a lot of targets in that offense.
But then he took Diggs on the way back.
Yeah.
Which is, it worked out for him. He probably could have went Diggs and then Lamb.
Yeah, he probably could have done that.
So it would have made more sense, but in my opinion, because I don't know if Lamb's going to get the volume. I'm a little worried about the Cowboys right now with their offensive line situation. Yeah. It's a mess. Smith went down, correct?
Yeah.
The left tackle. And they're going to be without Michael Gallup probably early in the year. So I don't know what's going to happen in Dallas. I was super high on Lamb. Kind of tempered my expectations just a little bit. So that was one thing that stood out to me. The 5 receivers in the first round. And 2 of them went in the first 4 picks. So Kupp went 3rd overall, Jefferson 4th. Again, we've been seeing this more and more, but Kupp going 3rd overall. What do you think about that?
I feel like that's early for him. I mean, he was the top player last year, receiving-wise, but I feel like Jefferson's going to have a huge year, and I have him way more over Kupp this year.
Yeah. Again, people don't want to take risks, and you take those receivers up high. You take a lot of the risk out of it. Don't have to worry about it. And you can see here, too, one of the teams that took the receiver high, Jefferson, they took 3 straight receivers to start the draft. I always like to look at this. The team 11 that took CeeDee Lamb, they took 4 straight receivers to start. And team 12 took 4 non-QB, non-running backs, so 3 receivers and 1 tight end. So let's look at their teams and how they fared after that. So the 4th team that took Jefferson, he has Dobbins as his number 1 back, then Edwards-Helaire, Gordon, Gainwell, Sony Michel, Trey Sermon, and Chris Evans. So what do you think about that running back room for that team?
I mean, it's a little scary, but I feel like the 2 running backs he had, that they're going to start at least, could have some decent upside in them, especially Dobbins. That's a run-first offense. Now he's back from injury. We saw what he did when he started the second half of his first season, his rookie year. I mean, he looked very good. And now I feel like he might have a really good year. And Hilaire, we don't know really what's going to happen, but I like that offense later in the year, it switched to kind of a run-based offense. They ran a bit more, so I feel like he could be decent this year.
I really like Dobbins. I think that was a good pick. I'm okay with him as a low-end number one if you're going to go receiver heavy to start the draft. But I worry about that number 2 spot for this team because he has Edwards-Hilaire, like you said, some question marks. Then Gordon, Gainwell. I do like Gainwell. I think he's a good mid-round, dart throw here. But still, I think that receiver room's kind of thin. Let's look at commercial break. He went CeeDee Lamb, Diggs, Cortland Sutton, Gabriel Davis. Number 1 back, Dameon Pierce. Then he has Devin Singletary, Isaiah Pacheco, Alexander Madison, Davis Price, and then Josh Kelly, who's actually had a really good preseason. This running back room compared to the other one, I probably like it a little more personally. I do like Dobbins more, but I like the depth of this running back room just a tad more because I trust Singletary a hair more than Edwards-Hilaire, but it's kind of similar, don't you think?
Yeah, it is. And you also have Pierce, who has a ton of upside, in my opinion. He could finish decently high. He reminds me of Arian Foster when he was with Houston. Not really much else besides him. So,
yeah. And then the last team is another one that went receiver, tight end heavy, 4 straight. Adams, Kelsey, Godwin, Mike Williams. Godwin, a little bit of surprise team going to the 3rd round. It might be as high as I've seen him go because he could miss some time early in the year. Surprised by that at all?
I mean, it is a little surprising with him going because he had the ACL tear late in the year, but we know what he is when he is healthy, so it's not a terribly surprising thing.
Okay, so his running back room, Elijah Mitchell, Chase Edmonds, Miles Sanders, James Robinson, Mike Davis, Jerick McKinnon, Jeff Wilson. So now this running back room, in my opinion, is the best of all 3 of the teams that went receiver heavy. I mean, Mitchell, again, some question marks like to rotate backs, but he's in a run heavy offense. It produces really good production from their fantasy players at the running back spot. Chase Edmonds, I really like him. He's been a target of mine lately. As you can see, his stock has gone way up recently too, in my opinion. He went in round 6 here. Then Miles Sanders, again, he's going to start most likely ahead of Gainwell. Maybe they'll split more work, but still, that's round 8? He got him in round 8. Then James Robinson, another guy that could start. I know Etienne's there. He's going to be really good. I'm high on him, but still, James Robinson's around, might get the goal line work. So I like this depth at the running back spot, considering he went receiver early.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I mean, especially with this receiver room, like Adams, Godwin, Williams, and then you also have Kelsey. So you have the number 1 tight end, a very good high-end number 1 wide receiver, really good number 2s, and then his running back group, Mitchell. I like him a lot this year just because there's no more Mostert. Question marks around Trey Sermon. I don't really know who else they really have. And with Mike McDaniels gone, he was the one that I feel like to rotate backs more. So they might not even rotate that much. It just might be Mitchell in that offense.
Yeah, and on the flip side, there weren't many teams that went super running back heavy early. There's one, though, the only one that took more than 2 in the first 3 rounds. Everybody else had just 2. But this team, the team that picked 5th overall, Chris and Q, went Eckler, Javonte Williams, Nick Chubb, Breece Hall. So that's a stacked running back room. So that's the only one that took not only 3 in the first 3 picks, but 4. So he went all out. That's a really, really, really good running back room. Yeah,
and I like to have that in this type of a league where if someone goes down, he's going to be fine with whatever comes up for him. And then you start 2 flex and 2 running backs, am I right?
Yep.
So he could start all 4 of those guys right now, and then you could have Brown and Cooper as his wide receivers.
And he only starts 2 receivers, too. It's not a 3-receiver league. I do think his receiver room's kind of thin. Marquise Brown, Amari Cooper, Russell Gage, Jarvis Landry, Christian Watson, Jalen Tolbert, Paris Campbell, Corey Davis, and Curtis Samuel. I mean, he has some dart throws there, especially at the end of the draft. I would have liked to have seen him get somebody like DeAndre Hopkins, who went in round 8. That would have made me feel a little bit better. I think if you're going to go this running back heavy and you're going to kind of ignore the receiver position, you can get somebody like Hopkins, especially if you draft Marquise Brown, who's going to be the number 1 while Hopkins is suspended. I would have kind of liked that situation for this team. But overall, I don't think he did too bad in the end. I also wanted to look at some players who are kind of moving around draft boards. We kind of talked about them already, but Dameon Pierce, he's been moving way up. So he went in round 5 here. Chase Edmonds is another climber. He went in round 6. Then on the flip side, Breece Hall, he's been kind of high, but I think people have tempered his expectations a little bit with the Michael Carter talk. Personally, I'm not that worried about Michael Carter. He fumbled. We just were watching the game up
Yeah.
there. He fumbled, and Hall was definitely involved early in that game, and he went in round 4 here, so he's slipped a little bit. Any thoughts on those three players and where they're falling now? Are you still okay with those?
Yeah, I'm okay, especially with Pierce and Edmonds. I love those two a lot this year. With Hall, I'm a little worried about him now because you have to remember, Carter, this is only his second year, so you still have a lot of hope for him to do good. So they might rotate back a little bit there in that offense.
All right, Henry, let's talk about the teams we like, teams we think are going to be the favorites here. To be honest with you, I think this was a really even draft. There's a lot of pluses and minuses with a lot of these teams. And then, you know, the teams that did different strategies, going running back early or receiver early, I think, you know, all of them kind of evened out at the end. Is there any team, in your opinion, that stands out here in this fantasy championship draft that took place?
And I'm looking right now, but there's a lot of things that I don't really know. I mean, I like a lot of teams here. I mean, I think team 1's pretty good. I like the running backs and Taylor Etienne. I mean, they didn't draft the running back till decently later after that. Michael Carter's their third, which I don't think is terrible because he's going to get a decent amount of work. I like his receivers too. Evans and Amon-Ra and Mooney, Renfro, Tony. I mean, that's not bad at all. And Schultz at tight end. And I worry about his QB and Cousins, but I think that team's pretty good.
Yeah, that is one thing I did want to mention. 2 teams waited until round 12 to get their first QB. And I still think they did pretty well because it was team 1 and then team 12. One got Kirk Cousins and Davis Mills. Don't like Mills as a backup personally. I would have rather I'd have gone a couple other directions there. But then team 12 went Stafford and Derek Carr, which I think is great. If you're going to wait that long, get those 2 guys, I think that's a great strategy. So you kind of like team 1. It's a really close call. I think there's a lot of teams that are similar. Like I said, I'm probably going to lean maybe the Team Thompson team. I like that with Joe Mixon, Barkley, Michael Pittman, and Elliott. It's a really good core. Then he has George Kittle as the number 1 tight end, Patrick Mahomes, elite QB. Then Christian Kirk is his number 2, Michael Gallup, Dotson. I worry about the receiver depth. I don't love his number 2 and Kirk at this point, but I love the running back depth. I think those are 3 great running backs. He has a great starting tight end in Kittle, great QB in Mahomes. Worry about his depth a little, but this Team Thompson team kind of stood out to me. And I think that was a team that we did. Wasn't there a Team Thompson that we watched?
I think there was. And I also want to mention one thing about that team. I think if I see it right, he took Dak Prescott as the backup QB, which is interesting to say the least.
Yeah, and he got Prescott in the 10th round. It's probably just a matter of, you know, too good to pass up. So, I mean, that's a great it could be some tough decisions for him, but I like that team. So I like Team Thompson. You like Paper Champs. But again, a lot of teams did well in this draft. It was a lot of fun to analyze this, Henry. This is the Fantasy Championship Draft. Took place 8/27 at 10 o'clock Eastern on our site last night. Again, all sorts of drafts going off right now here at RealTime Fantasy Sports. We're having a lot of fun watching these, especially these high-stake ones. Also, your home leagues are going off as well, and we really enjoy hosting those. If you're still setting up your home league, don't forget to give us a shot. Totally free this year if it's your first year on the site. So if it's the first year on your site, use the promo code RTFS News, totally free. But again, all different other games, especially this Fantasy Championship, which is a lot of fun. Just the best championship on the win, $500,000 to win. Henry, thanks again for joining me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
We're going to do one of these live again, one of these live stream drafts again in the next coming days as well. We love to live stream these. Maybe we'll pick a real-time fantasy sports championship this time and do a TFC the time after. Regardless, we're going to do it. We appreciate you watching. We appreciate you supporting our videos on YouTube. You can like and subscribe to the channel as well. All right, this has been Jeff Paur for Real Time Fantasy Sports.
And Henry Paur.
Have a good day, everyone.